We're going to start working on Barney. I guess you would call this maybe Barney 3.0 if you would. We're going to dig into Barney, we're going to do some mods, and we're going to have some fun. Turning Barney into something different. Had some ideas of what we're going to do. Melly's currently out planting bulbs, getting ready to have, you plant the bulbs in the fall so that the flowers come up in the springtime. So she'll be back out here in the garage in a little bit. But I'm going to get a head start cracking into Barney. So some of you may have caught the tracker style fender seat combo in another video on one of my other bikes. And yeah, that is for Barney. So today I need to get Barney taken apart so I can mock up some of the stuff. And then that'll give us some ideas of what to do next, because we're going to turn Barney into a street tracker. This should be fun. Anyhow. We're never getting rid of the bike. We love the little Honda Rebel 250, and even though there's new Rebels out and you can always go buy a new bike, there's just something fun about riding this one, even for a big guy like me, so why not modify it? I didn't pay next to anything for it. Remember, we only paid $700 for that bike when it was new. Well, new to us, but and because it's Mel's first motorcycle and I've never kept my first motorcycle, we decided we're going to hold on to it and we're going to have fun modifying, fixing up, and making videos, even if they haven't come out on a regular basis. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details because I've already, in the last video, removed the fuel tank and all that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then we'll skip ahead and we'll get Barney down to the bare bones, and then check out what's going on with the parts. So got the fuel tank off and fuel hose off the carburetor this time. You can see there's the inlet, and then this is the just the overflow out to the ground, and it's still pretty clean there on the backbone. Gotta take the fender off. What you do is you take one of these fender stays off at a time by removing the upper shock mount. Just do one side, the shock holds the other side of the bike up. Got my CB500T tank there, and here's Barney's old tank, and Barney's old seats over here. And at some point, if any of you people out there in the YouTube world need some Barney parts that we aren't using, you can get in contact with me and I will see if I can arrange some way to ship and sell it. So at some point in time with Barney, I'm going to have to buy a welder, and I don't really have 220 out here in the garage, so I'm going to have to find a good 110 volt welder. I'm thinking maybe a Lincoln Electric or possibly a small Hobart, like a hobbyist one. So let me get this rear fender off and we'll see what the bike looks like. I guess for now I'll be calling the Barney style of Rebel the Rebel Classic, since Honda's making a new Rebel 300 and 500. Won't be as cool as Barney, I'll tell you that. So anyhow, to get this fender off, I got to do a couple of things. I custom mounted these lights, and they're actually bolted to this fender stay. So I've got to remove all these bolts here, but then I also have to remove the shock mount, because the shock mount pinches the fender stay and kind of holds everything together. They really overbuilt this bike. I mean, it is amazing that anybody would ever have an issue wrecking one of these things and not being able to just pick it up and ride off. Anywho, yeah, let's get this undone. You can see up in here, push this little bushing out, even the tail lamp assembly, which is this guy, not tail lamp, I'm sorry, even the license plate assembly, which also houses all of this wiring here through that grommet right there. I mean, it's shock mounted with these rubber bushings. I mean, anyone who thinks that a Honda Rebel is not well built has never owned one, because they're overbuilt. I mean, when we get this fender off and you see how much bracing is underneath this steel fender, and considering it's a 250, it's pretty cool. Gotta give it to Honda. Anyhow, that was fun wiring. These are the leads for these, I can't remember who I bought those from, the LED indicators. But they're mounted directly to the fender stays of the nut on the back side because the stems aren't long enough to go through the fender. So I'll be reusing those. I have to extract them carefully as to not break them. And then the toaster's got to come off. And here it is. That wiring harness there unplugs right there on top of the airbox. I guess that's the air intake there, and then you got some other wiring harness goodies. Get this guy on the ground here, and you can see, I mean, look at all those braces, and you got some captured nuts that are welded to the braces, and you know, it is extremely well built. So I'm going to fish this wiring harness out of here, the next thing, and probably unbolt the toaster and get it off the fender, and then I'm done with the fender. Served Barney good in the past, but it's just not the path we're going. You can kind of see Barney's shade. I don't know how well it comes out, but it's darker here. I think it's closer to the original color because Barney's sun faded a little bit to the distinct Barney purple color. Since this was, you know, out of the weather and whatnot in the sunlight, that's pretty much the stock color. So that's what you're left with after you get the whole rear fender assembly. And now you know why people bobber these things out, because it's pretty easy to do, but that's not the direction that we're going. So that dude is right there. This gets sandwiched into this shock mount, so I'm going to have to get some spacers for this so I maintain my shock alignment. This is just it's not threaded, it's just a through hole. The fender itself has a captured nut on it, and then you got a combination of through holes and captured nuts, and you can see this has seen better days, but it's not damaged, it's just rusty and the chrome's kind of crappy, but I'm not going to be using it. So let's mock up the new stuff. Cleaned up the rear harness off of the fender. I will reuse this again in the future, so put it on my cart. There we go. That's what Barney's going to look like. Kind of ignore the front end for now, you know. I'm going to reuse these handlebars, but they're going to sit lower because I'm going to change out these clamps and neaten this whole mess up. I'm going to make a bracket that'll integrate both of these two together, and I'm going to get this powder coated, or these two powder coated, so they match. Because the font is almost the same, so it looks factory if they lived, you know, in the same group. Also, as discussed previously, these brackets are way too far forward. The headlight sticks out too far, and these are too close at full lock to the front of the tank. But like I said, forget the front. Look at that. Now right now it's just mocked up on some shop towels and stuff. And I got it in the approximate location. That's what Barney's gonna look like. Now you gotta imagine this all painted Barney purple, right? And the tank with the Honda logo on it. May or may not have the stripes on it. That's gonna be up to Melly. And some knee pads. But the critical thing is the bottom of the tank needs to maintain the line with the bottom of the fender. Now, Barney is gonna sit higher than Barney sits right now, because I've got to replace this shock. Because they're both shot, and unless I put another Rebel shock on it, I'm gonna have to get a taller shock, because nobody makes one. I think it's like 10.5 inches. It's pretty damn short, and I may trim this a little bit styling wise, but that looks pretty sweet. This slip-on exhaust may or may not survive once I get my hands on a welder and practice up, because I know how to weld, but it's been a very long time since I did it on a regular basis. I might weld up some kind of 2-in-1 style exhaust system, but let's go see what Melly thinks.
That's different.
Well, keep in mind, right, the fender's not the right color, and that tank's not exactly mounted where it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to play around with it. The fuel tap is really close to the air box. The tank can come forward, and it will when I change these out for the other headlight mounts. that I have. Plus, I want to push this headlight back because all the wiring and guts that's in that box right there is going to live inside the headlight. And also, your handlebars are going to be lower because we're going to put a different set of handlebar mounts to the upper yoke. I'd love for you to sit on it, but you can't because the only thing it's sitting on is a couple of blocks of wood right now. It is very Barney-like, but very un-Rebel-esque, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the most non-Honda Rebel looking Rebel out there. But that's cool because now it's a Rebel Classic because Honda decided to make a Rebel 300 and a Rebel 500.
Oh,
And
looks different.
yeah, it looks cool from the back. And that license plate, that's a Lucas style tail light. So it's got a section underneath that illuminates the license plate, so it's all in one unit. I was thinking it's sitting lower now, but the rear shocks are shot. They've, like, one of them, all the oil's drained out of it, it's leaked out. The seals are bad because they're from 1987. So Dime City Cycles has some longer shocks, so I was thinking we might raise it up a bit. Maybe just out of necessity, unless I buy a set of used shocks off of eBay. I don't know, it depends. I think it kind of looks cool the way it is, and also you got a lot more room to move back on the seat, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Because Barney's seat used to end like right here.
I don't want to touch it. I get dirty hands.
Yeah, Melly's been out planting bulbs for spring's flowers here in the fall time.
I want to sit on it.
I know you do. You can't, but you can't. See, that's motivation. You could stand over it.
Yeah.
So, tasks for the future. It'll really help if we get some suggestions from people. A good 110 welder that uses shielding gas, just a standard Mig Welder. I've got to clean the tank out. I'm gonna use some Evapo-Rust and Caswell to line the tank, but it's in really good shape, so there shouldn't be too much rust in there. When we get new risers, Mel, we can put more of a pullback on them. You may not be sitting as far back as you are right now. This is all adjustable, keep that in mind, right? Because nothing's mounted yet.
Sorry.
Nothing's mounted yet. But you do sit a little higher than you did on Barney's seat. And plus, I think if I get the shortest, best shocks that they've got, which are, I think they've got a pair of tech shocks that are kind of universal ones.
Yeah.
I might be able to raise the back end up by about 1 inch and not have it look goofy. At some point in time, I want to try my hand at making my own 2-in-1 scrambler style exhaust for this bike. You think you can get off of it?
I was trying to put my foot up.
The only thing that's holding that seat on is a piece of wood and some... I know, you desperately want to be like, this is cool.
There.
What do you think? A gold leaf 74 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, gotta remember this is all Barney purple, right?
Yeah.
Some knee pads, since that's a thing with us.
Yeah.
It'll be sweet, and we'll put your tool roll on the front, so we'll still use it. Well, the other thing you got to remember is that these risers are actually moving the handlebars up and forward.
Yeah.
So just going with a set of straight risers will probably move the handlebars back.
That'll be nice, because then my legs won't be so squished up.
We will have to fab up probably 4 brackets, some kind of weld some captured nuts to some brackets, and then holes, and get this seat cover off. That's just a piece of fiberglass, so this will have holes in it with fasteners that'll be chamfered so that they sit flush, probably some Allen screws. And then the back of this we can fiberglass in some neodymium magnets, and then that'll get held down in place by magnets so it won't come up easily. Those rare earth magnets are very, very, very strong. Cool. Next time you gotta help.
Okay. Yeah, that tank makes it look like a more significant bike.
It fits the bike perfect. I mean, it just doesn't have the same mounting.
It makes it look like a bigger bike. It just
Yeah.
Has more presence to it.
Yeah, and you know, the whole bobber thing's been done to death. Take that fender off. Just pick it up, it'll come right off. There's nothing holding it on. Just set it back on the chair. See? There, you know my secret. That's what you were sitting on there, a block of wood and some towels. Everybody does this trick, where they just pull the rear fender off, you know, and they bobber it out. And it does look really low and slammed, but meh, overdone right now. We got to do something different.
I like that.
I like that too. And that was from Hot Wings Fiberglass. They make these for Gold Wings, but Hot Wing Fiberglass, this is their tracker model, or style 1 is what that is. And it wasn't too expensive, and they came with this option to have a covered seat and the taillight assembly, because they have to fiberglass in the mounts for that. Alrighty, hopefully there isn't too much wind noise here in the microphone, but that's what we're going for. You can see that line. I have to try and keep that straight. On a stick. Camera on a stick. So anywho, that's it for today's video. Not much of Melly involvement, but I'll get her stuck in on the next one. Anyhow, you like it?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't.
I kind of made some executive decisions without Mel's input, because the fuel tank was at the very end of an eBay auction, like I don't know how many months ago. I made the video of it, so I had to buy it. And when I put it on the bike, that kind of led to the tracker fender. And so it's going to be a street tracker. We didn't know. Ooh. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and until we see everyone again, ride safe. Right, Mel?
Yep, bye.
I'd get it one piece at a time, and it wouldn't cost me a dime. You'll know it's me when I come through your town. I'm gonna ride around in style, I'm gonna drive everybody wild, 'cause I'll have the only one there is around.
Substantial. That was the word I was looking for, not significant.
It is a substantial tank, Mel.
Yes.
It's freaking huge!
The word of the day is substantial.
Can you spell it?
Substantial. SUBSTANTIAL. Substantial.
Yay!